So there is another part of the project that is not in the finished project. I'm going to put it in the description box if it'll fit, but it's a lot of words. So I thought that it may be a good idea for me to just read them to you, and then you can watch it if you want to or not. So yeah, this is like the preface of the project. Let's begin. Hi, the name tag says I'm Madeline, but everyone calls me Lainey. How I began so many conversations in college. We write stories, we tell stories, we live stories because they need to be heard. Because there is wisdom and worth and reason hidden between the actions and messy, messy words. Nothing you say, nothing you do, nothing you think, and maybe especially nothing you feel is truly nothing. It can all be the world in that moment. When I started putting pieces together for this second project, it was more of a blur than the first one, and as it continued to sit and build and meld, a thought came to my mind. How do you sum up the past 4 years without being depressing? The more pieces that I wrote and chose all ended up making people, specifically my mom, sad. My point is never to make someone depressed by something I create. No, to think, yes. To wonder and empathize and understand from a different perspective and maybe feel something? Absolutely. But depression should never be the final destination. So how do I sum up my university experience without it being depressing? By starting with the things that I love. My friends, my memories, the moments and dynamics with others that are only mine, beautifully mine. I started dance and theater halfway through high school. I knew it was what I wanted to work towards for my career, and by some miracle, lots of belief from my dear instructors and a whole lot of scrambling and fake confidence, it worked. I pursued theater in university, only minding schools with a musical theater program. It was important for me to be able to follow all of the areas that interested me. I needed a school that would take it seriously, that would take me seriously. Auditions, essays, scholarships, prayers, and tear-stained nights. Belhaven was one of the few, if not the only, that offered a musical theater BFA in a Christian setting. Did I get into the BFA? No. No, I didn't. I auditioned 3 times for it and was met with denial each time. Did that hurt? Yes, it really did. That was fine. I would make it work. Theater BA, bring it on. My electives were used to focus in dance, ballet, tap, jazz, social, music, voice. I had one of the dearest instructors, but it took a turn for the worse when online was our only option, as physical as my training needed to be. I helped out in the costume shop, learned how to use power tools to cut trim for stages, painted, printed, and folded programs, ran lights, sound, directed, designed, ran rehearsals, made line notes, acted, worked in the theater office. If someone had a question about something, more than likely I knew the answer, or had an idea where to find it. I was as involved as I possibly could be in the theater department, and I loved it. I had been handed a deck of cards, and I was doing my best to care for those around me that I could as I sorted through the mess of life. But not all cards in a deck are kind or helpful. My story isn't complete without the messy side of things that not everyone saw or even knew about. Right before university began, I was finally diagnosed with fibromyalgia, a chronic illness that causes constant pain, fatigue, and brain fog, due to nerves constantly firing to the brain and creating problems on their own. Finally, an answer to the long queue of so many years of not knowing why I was always hurting. Who knew that wasn't normal for a teenage girl? Not me. BU's ADA department worked hard to try and help me. It's hard to help something you don't understand, though. And what's often presented as a pedestal of safety usually turns into a glass box of further obstacles and doubt. You're not meant to be kept from doing things because of your condition. You're meant to be met in the middle. This is what I can do, and this is what I can't. No one is allowed to set that standard besides you, which doesn't usually work the way it's meant to, which is often what I was met with. Either I was obviously faking it and should not be taken seriously, or it was okay until it was inconvenient for the professor, which often led to tears and fear of failing courses, even though I was told I could have as many skips as I needed. Being held back in ballet, severely hurt in a freshman stagecraft lab, and doubted in my capability to perform. No one likes feeling alienated because of their special needs. It's more limiting than anything else for someone to know what you deal with every day. They look at you differently and become overly cautious of hurting you. I'm disabled, not an ancient porcelain doll that will shatter if you touch it. I wish I was joking. In February of 2020, I got sick with COVID before we even knew it was in the States. It was in the middle of my first show that I worked and fought hard to be cast in. I was not going to let it get the best of me. Acting with a high fever, chills, and speaking over the hoarseness every night led to it sticking around longer than it needed to. I was sick February till nearly May. Spring break happened that March, and I was met with another diagnosis, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobility. So the world was beginning to shut down, and I had just been told that the reason my body is always dislocating and out of alignment, causing more pain, is a genetic disorder that there's no cure for. Yay. As a side effect from COVID, not only was I now suffering even more from severe shortage of breath, that had always been an issue for me, but chronic migraines began and didn't leave for the entirety of my sophomore fall semester. In the spring, I had numerous strange episodes of passing out, memory loss, and spiked pain levels, which led to heart tests, only to be disregarded as perfectly fine, stop worrying and being dramatic, by a health professional. Later, I tore a ligament in my foot while rushing to class, careful for holes, rabbit ones or not, which made dancing for the rest of the semester out of the equation. Walking was hard enough. And yet, all through this, I was constantly met with bewilderment. How can you do so much? And why can't you do better and more? It was my fault for being stressed out. It was my fault for not sleeping. It was my fault for forgetting to eat, even though food allergies meant I had to make everything by myself and classes were always 15 minutes away from my apartment. It was my fault for not being able to breathe and project. It was my fault for not being able to lift more, or needing to sit down, or missing an exam, even though I literally couldn't get out of bed, or being concerned with whether I was okay or not. It felt like I was constantly questioned on who I was, what I could do, and why my dreams are what they are. The golden question of, how are you going to manage a career? I can't imagine. Nod and smile. I know it's a lot. I guess I'll figure it out. There was never really, wow, this is hard. You're so strong for trying. Let's see if I can give you the tools to support you, even after school is done. Just disbelief and discouragement, whether it was meant that way or not. For someone who has always felt like she never quite met the mark for what anyone wanted or expected from her, this wasn't what I was hoping for college. And yes, I proved them wrong, sometimes. But I shouldn't have had to. I should have been believed and supported in everything I endeavored. If you consider all of that in collaboration with the usual heartache, loneliness, separation, stress, and whatnot else college usually brings, it was a lot. At the end of my sophomore year, I was met with a decision. It had been following me around all year, and now it was time to face it. Was I going to come back in the fall? There was a nagging in the back of my mind that Belhaven had given me all that it readily could. I had learned some things, experienced a lot, grown as a performer, as a person. But my health was getting scarier, scholarships were getting smaller, and my mind feeling at peace, if terrified, at the prospect of this being a closing chapter. The week of finals, I had to sit down with one of my trusted professors, and we talked about where I was, how I felt, and my goals, and what she thought my next step should be. So I went home. My sister had her baby, and her family ended up moving into our house for the next good while. So instead of essays and quizzes and scholarly things, keeping this child alive and the family sane as the world continued to fall down around us became life. What would have been my junior spring semester, I released my first project, Finding Where We Are, which had been a labor of love for the majority of the previous year. And I truly thought that was it. My year away from Belhaven had been full, and odd as it sounds, I longed for the chaos that school had been. It sounded like a break from the past year. But life doesn't go the way we plan. ever. What sounded straightforward on paper was met with doubt and criticism. It's not the way things are done. And again, no one was willing to make a small exception, even though I had thought through every step of the process. The funds weren't there, the support was lacking, and the week before classes were meant to begin in August, it was made very clear that I wasn't going back in person. More tears. But I was going to finish, and so help me, I was going to walk with my class in graduation. I needed 2 more credits to complete my Associates of the Arts, Maths and Science. Back to online. That's how I did all of high school and the majority of 2020. It wasn't fun, but I passed them and finished in December. And sure enough, I walked with my graduating class and the majority of my freshman pals that had stuck around through it all in spring of 2023. So where does that bring us? What would I say? What could I say? Why do I feel like these are my words to say? Are all questions that have not stopped circling this project since before it was thought of. And yet, I keep being reassured that my words hold worth and meaning, and since those are 2 of the guiding words of my life, I present to you, Letter to You, A Journey Through University. I'm not looking for pity or an apology. This isn't a parade of grudges or drawing of names and numbers. I made mistakes. I learned lessons. I grew as an individual, as a team player, as a director and writer, and I want to share that with you. So maybe you can learn from them too. So maybe you'll avoid that door or tumble more happily down it, knowing what wonderland just exactly waits for you at the bottom. How you interpret my art is up to you and your experience. All I can do is tell the stories I know. I've earned the memories and lessons that are mine. I fought hard to stand where I am, as weak as I feel most days, and I can still be proud of that. And even more readily, proud of my story, my friends, and the potential of what comes next. I hope you will enjoy this project. It has been worried over and cared for to the absolute maximum that it could be. So maybe it will speak to you. It's not only my story, it's for those who need to be heard, reassured, and seen out there. I feel you. Keep trying. Things can always get better. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on November the 18th for Letter to You's final release. I am so excited. I so hope that you are excited too, and I will see you then. Toodles.